Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Imperfect Podcast. I am Wendy Lloyd Curley, and I'm so glad that you're here with me. And I have a special guest this time. Andrea Hernandez is a member of my BNI region, and she and I were talking, and my dog has decided to make noise. That's why it's called the Imperfect Podcast, too. You know what I might do, Andrea? I'm going to close the door. Oh, look at them. Oh, my goodness me. And it's called the Imperfect Podcast because I don't need to re-record.
Oh,
Right, right, folks? Everybody listening, they're fine with that. Andrea and I were talking about generational differences between the way that people might network. And Andrea has shared with me that she's almost 30, and I am almost I am 57. Let's just go with 57. And so Andrea, what does that make you? Are you Gen Y or Gen Z, or what do you call yourself in that kind of term?
yeah. Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me on your podcast, Wendy. It's great to be here. And I think I still technically qualify as a millennial.
Nice. All right, and that's Gen Y, isn't it? That's like,
I
or do they
think
just
so.
call it a millennium?
I just say millennial. Yes. Then when
I
it
love
comes
it.
to all the letters, I start to get confused. I'm like, I'm just a millennial. I'm good with
I love it. Well, I'm proudly Gen X. We didn't have special names back then.
that.
Well, listen, first of all, can we find out a little bit more about you? We now know how old you are, but you probably have a little bit of a story. Where are you from, and how did you get involved in what you do now?
Oh my goodness. So answering the question where I'm from is probably the hardest one for me because what does that mean? As in, where do I call home? Where is my family? Where was I born? So basically I was born in Colombia in South America. When I was about 2, my parents moved to Spain. So I grew up, my childhood was in Spain. And then when I was about 14, we moved again to the UK, and that's where I learned English. And I learned English by watching lots of American TV shows. And that's how I developed this weird international kind of American accent. A lot of people think I'm Canadian. And then, yeah, so I did all my formal education in the UK. And about 5 years ago, I met my partner then. He's now my fiance and he's from Australia. And he said, I'd love to move back there one day. And I said, you know what? Why not? I am from warmer climates, so it sounded like a good idea. And so about 18 months ago, we made the move, and here we are.
I just love that. Now, one of the things, let's talk a little bit about your business. First of all, let's start with your career. Like, talk about your first business, the first working that you did. What was that, and how did you get to where you are now? Take us on
Yes.
that journey.
So I think I've always had a very entrepreneurial mind. And I've always loved to help people. Those are the two things that I know for sure. I didn't want to have a traditional sort of career pathway where I would be working on a 9 to 5. But I also really like helping people. So I think I did the traditional thing. You know, I went to school, I went to university, I got a degree. I studied English and creative writing because I'm very creative. And on the side, as a hobby, I would build websites because it was just another creative outlet for me. And it was a great way to publish my thoughts, and because I like to write a lot, and a way to connect with people through the online media, but using a bit of everything that I enjoyed. But I never really took that any further. And so after graduating from university, I ended up working for a non-for-profit, which was designed to help students in the UK find pathways to study in the US because I had done a year abroad in the US and I really enjoyed it. So I did that for about a year. And then COVID hit, and so I changed. I was supposed to travel and work as an English teacher, but when COVID hit, I couldn't do that. So I ended up working for the government, the UK government, as a work coach specialist, helping people find work. And I love doing that because I love helping people. But it was very demanding, and I got burnt out very quickly. We were supporting people that had very high needs. I couldn't see myself doing that for the rest of my life, and I was desperate for a change. By that point, I had met my partner, and I had told him I don't think I want to do this, and he was a paramedic as well, so he totally understood where I was coming from in terms of we are public servants. We love helping people, but we're getting burned out, and it's not sustainable. So I shared with him some of my entrepreneurial dreams, and I said, you know what, like maybe we should explore this further. And I used to love building websites. Why don't we find for a way to, reskill ourselves, retrain ourselves, upskill, and all of these things, and then just start something of our own. And so when we decided to move to Australia, it just sort of felt like the right time to go on a bit of an adventure and try and do that ourselves, because it was we were already going to leave our job, so it kind of made sense to use that time to find a new way to help people. And that's essentially what we've done. And our philosophy is life is one big adventure, so that's why we named our business Adventures Web Digital. And it's basically finding ways to help people while still fulfilling our dream to build something of our own. And a little bit about the business: it's a digital agency. Predominantly, we build websites, but we build them with the hope of and the strategic outcome to get people leads to the website. So there's a lot of SEO and optimization that goes in the background. Even before we start building the website, we do a lot of strategic planning and research and thinking about how we can get the messaging right, how we can get the customers right, how we can get all of these things right to make sure that this website is going to work for the business owner and is going to help them generate leads. Because the more leads they have coming in passively, the more they can just focus on doing what they do best, and they can just focus on spending time with their family and their loved ones and have a great work-life balance, because that's something we want for ourselves, and we want to offer that to business owners as well. So that's in a nutshell how we ended up here and a little bit about what we do.
I love that. And I love that you've evolved over time, like tried different things, seen different ways, and not allow yourself to be unhappy and then figure out what the next step is. That I think that's a really healthy way to live.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can, again, like the Imperfect Podcast, life is imperfect as well. Sometimes we make decisions and decide to do things, and then we realize, oh, that wasn't the right thing for me.
Yeah.
So I do like that. All right. And I really love the motto of life is one big adventure. I think that's
Thank
a lot
you.
of fun. Uh,
Thank you.
so thinking about, you said at the very beginning there that you think you had an entrepreneurial spirit, but this is your first business, right? This
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Where do you think that courage came from? Do you have in your family, do people run their own businesses, or do most people in your family collect paychecks? I always wonder about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think a little bit of both. When I was growing up, we had a single income household, so my dad was predominantly working as an employee. And then when we moved to the UK, it was around the financial crisis of 2008, and things was just very, very difficult. And I think at that point, it became clear that a job wasn't as stable as it used to be in the day. And so after a few years of watching him struggle to get different jobs, even though he could speak English and all of this, eventually he found success by setting up his own business, and through being self-employed and helping other people with translations and all of these things. And I watched him grow that business into just like a little bit of a consultancy, into having multiple clients. And I watched the freedom that that gave him as well, to be with us, to take holidays. And I think it was something that I took away from that experience, is that if you work for yourself, you get to control your own time, you get to control, how much you charge and what customers you work with. And of course, there's things that you can't always control. But yeah, I think that's what I took away from that. And knowing that a job wasn't going to provide me the security and the stability that I knew I wanted for myself and for my future, family, and even my current loved ones and friends. So I think that's a little bit where where I started seriously thinking, yes, you know what, if my dad can do this, then I think I can give it a try for sure.
I do think that starting your own business, it takes a lot of bravery. And I feel like people who have seen others do it are aware of it's tough to own your own business, but it is rewarding.
Yeah.
And I just speaking about myself for a minute, my dad was always collecting a paycheck. And when I went to uni, I never really thought anything about starting a business. I
Mm,
was just trying to get a great job.
mm,
And everything I did was about career development and getting in front of the right kind of hiring managers
mm.
and working my way to the top. That was what I wanted to do. And once I got into it, 10 years in, I thought, this is not what I wanted to do. But I still didn't know that I wanted to start a business. So, okay, so you're a year and a half into running your business. Congratulations. And
Thank
what's it
you.
like? What stresses do you have? What joys do you have?
I think the same stresses that every new startup, small business owner has. And I think I'll talk about the rewards because I want to keep it positive. But I think the rewards is definitely the people that I've been able to meet alongside this journey, and just having the flexibility to decide who I work and where I work and with whom. So it's those are definitely the pluses. Just knowing that if we want to take a holiday, we don't have to ask permission from a boss for annual leave because we are the bosses, right? So it's the freedom that comes with it is definitely some of the perks. And then the challenges, I think, it's just the ones that everybody faces is sometimes you have so much to do and you don't have enough time to do it all. Wondering when the next client's going to come from, and these are just normal stresses that come with running a business. But I think for sure the benefits outweigh the costs.
You're a year and a half in. Over that 18 months or so, how have you gotten clients?
It's been predominantly word of mouth referrals and networking. That has been the primarily way. Yeah, the primary way.
All right, so let's break those two up. Let's start with word of mouth referrals.
Yes.
So, did you start by doing a website for someone and then asking them to tell others about how did it really start?
It started by putting ourselves out there and going to quite a few networking events and building trust with people. And then it didn't really have much traction until I joined BNI. And I, just by simply saying, I'm a web developer and here's what I can do, we got the first few referrals come through. And that gave us the case studies to really continue to show this is the work that we can do, this is the results that we've achieved, and start to get more referrals come through.
Yeah. You've told me some really good things over time about your BNI experience so far, and I know you're a fairly new member. And
Yeah.
I think that I always say that we're looking for high quality people, high quality businesses in a BNI. And I think we found one in you,
Oh,
even
thank you.
though you have a small amount of experience, you've got big visions for what your company's going to do.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the experience you've had and how did you find BNI? And then why did you decide to become part of it?
Yes. So I mean, as I've spoken, I came to Australia about 18 months ago. We didn't actually set up the business immediately because we spent the first few months upskilling, retraining, and all of this. I had done web developing previously, but so much had changed. So I had to go back to basics almost and reel in a lot of what I had kind of forgotten. So we spent that time building that. And at the same time, trying to build our network, we were looking to connect with other business owners that we're going through a similar journey that could understand the struggles and the challenges that comes with how do you structure your business, what is the product that you're going to offer, what makes you different, all of these things that not everybody's going to understand. Like your friends and family might support you, but they don't understand what that feels like or what that looks like. So we were trying to connect with other business owners specifically that were also trying to, going through this process. And we went to as many networking events as we could around Sydney. Some of them were a complete waste of time because the majority of them, they just want to sell you onto their products or their courses or whatever it is, whether it's property or they're investing or whatever it is. Some of them were just very impersonal, and you just go there and everybody exchanges LinkedIn with you, but you don't actually have a proper connection with anybody, and you walk away feeling like that was just a complete waste of time. So yeah, we spent about 9 months doing that, and we went to different programs. We did a personal development program, and we were sort of networking with other people, but it just felt like there was nothing that would stick. And likewise, because I had come here and, Nick, who is my partner, his family is here, but I don't have any family or any friends. So I wanted to make some friends as well. But being in the entrepreneurial space meant that I wasn't relating as much to people that were in jobs. So I was kind of looking for friends in the business space as well. But I was just failing miserably. So I would try and make these connections work. And if we was online, I would sort of meet them online. But after a few weeks or a few months, it would just sort of fizzle out and nothing would come out of that.
Yeah.
And so it was just like this feeling like we're an island in the middle of the ocean with nobody around us, thinking, my god, like we're completely isolated and we must be the only ones going through these challenges at this moment. And every single person we meet, they either want to take our money or they're not, or they want to sell us something. They're just not interested in just having a genuine connection. So we were lucky that when we were sort of upskilling and retraining, we went with a mentorship program, a community program for all the digital agencies, and we spoke to a few of their past alumni, I guess, or people that had done it previously, and they said, you know what, BNI is a great way to start networking and start getting clients. And we were like, BNI, what is that? I have no idea what that means. Business Network International, whatever that means. I have no idea what that means. So anyway, fast forward a few months, and it wasn't until I think it was September last year that we started looking on Eventbrite, and this is the place that we used to go to find all of these other business networking events. And we found one that said specifically BNI, and still not really knowing what that means. We're like, okay, let's check it out. So then we looked at the details. We were taken aback at how early it actually was. It was like super early, but I was like, okay, that's fine. Nope, not a problem. It's just one day. Let's just check it out. So we went to a BNI. I think it was in the inner west. I'm not really sure the regions, but it's in Moore Park, and we checked it out. And it was so different to any other networking event that we had been to. And I had been to quite a few both together, separately. I had been to Chamber of Commerce events, and it was just, I don't know, it was the vibe was so completely different because it was structured. You would sit around a table in a specific way, and they run through an agenda in a specific way. And then at the end, everybody would stand up and say, this is what I have this week. I've either generated this much business, or I've given this much business, or this referrals. And wow, I was just completely blown away. They were so specific, especially around the thank you for closed business. It was so specific about this is how much I've generated, and everything was recorded. And I was like, I don't think I've ever seen this before. I just couldn't imagine going to another, for example, Chamber of Commerce event and them saying, this is how much business I've generated because of another member in here. It was just, wow, it completely blew my mind. And maybe I'm a little bit of a type A personality, and it just really appealed to me. I was like, yes, this is what I need, because sometimes you say you're a business owner, but you don't take yourself very seriously. And so you're like, yeah, I have a business, but I'm actually just at home watching TV doing nothing, right? But it felt like within BNI, within this group, in this meeting, people are like, no, we mean business, right? We are in business and we mean it. And it was just like, yeah, this is the accountability that I need, because I need to take myself more seriously if I'm going to make this business work. So at that point, I immediately knew that it didn't matter if I didn't get any clients from BNI or any referrals. None of that mattered to me at that point. I just knew that I wanted the accountability that the system of BNI would give me. And at that point I knew, yes, I need to join. I need to join. This is what I need. And I had no idea the impact that it would have in my life a few months later. Um, and no idea the relationships that I would build at the time. I was just interested in the accountability aspect of it. So I immediately started researching chapters in my region that didn't have the web developer seat, because that's the seat I wanted to take, and that were easy enough for me to get to because I don't drive. So it needed to be within public transport distance and all of these things. And yeah, so eventually I visited a few, and I settled on Bizmasters, and that's where I ended up. And I don't know if you want me to talk more about what it's been like since I joined.
Well, let's just take a breath for a moment and say what an amazing testimonial that was. Really for and I resonated with everything you said. I was a pretty successful business owner, but I worked for myself and I didn't have that accountability and discipline. And I had been doing my business for 7 years at the time,
Wow.
and that it was going well. But when I saw all those people in a chapter meeting, they felt like adults, and I wanted to be an adult like them and have that accountability. That is absolutely what drew me to BNI.
Yeah.
Solopreneurs, which is really what I was
Mm.
at the time. It just really called out to me. I'm so glad that you found a home, and I'm so grateful that I've gotten to meet you. I'd love to hear a little bit about what you've experienced since becoming a member, because I think it's pretty impressive what you've been able to experience for your business, but also for yourself.
Yeah. I think that the biggest gains that I've had from BNI have been on a personal level for sure. When I first started going to all the networking events, some of which I've mentioned previously, I would be the person that would take a drink to have something in my hands, and then I would stand at the back of the room, just there observing everybody else. And maybe I would sit at a table, and if somebody came up and sat next to me, I would try and make conversation, but that's about as far as it went. I did not feel any confident talking to people. I felt like I was just trying to do a bit of a checklist of like I should network, so I'm here, visibility and all of that. But it didn't feel like I believed in what I was doing, and it didn't feel like it was going to lead anywhere. So every event I went to, it was the same feeling of, oh, I'm just here. I don't really want to be here. I'm scared to talk to people, and I don't even know what I want to say. And then I joined BNI officially in December last year, so about 7 months ago now, almost 7 months ago. And I was absolutely terrified at first, having to stand up every week and talk about my business and do a pitch and, talk about what we did and in a way that made sense to other people. I was shaking. I had to always look at my phone because I just couldn't possibly remember what I had to say. My voice would always literally be shaking and my heart would be pounding all the time. I found it very, very difficult. But over time, the more I did it, the more confident I became. And I'm sure lots of people have this experience, but it's true because you are forced to confront that fear time and time again. So you do it, and the more you do it, the easier it gets, the better at it you get, the more you can connect with people, and the more you also get to refine your message, which then makes it easier to go to other networking events outside of BNI and know exactly what you need to say to connect to people and how to explain your business in a way that makes sense. And that's training that you don't get anywhere else, right? Even if you've had all the online training in the world, unless you're physically doing that, it's just not an experience that you're going to get anywhere else. So, first of all, it really helped with my confidence and with my ability to refine my services, my pitch, understanding what we offer and how to explain that to people so they would understand. So that so first of all, that's been, the one of the biggest wins that I've had. And then the second one is the relationships that has come with that. As I said previously, I really did try to form friendships, especially within the entrepreneurial space.
Yeah,
And I was looking for people that would be as motivated as I was to build a business and to be successful. But that we could also just hang, we could just have coffee and just talk about life and share pictures of each other's cats or whatever it was. This is just what you just want to have a friend, but also like a business friend, but also
yeah.
a friend. And I had found that very difficult to do previously. All of these other events that we had gone to, like I said, either people were trying to sell to us or they were just really in like a totally different space where they were extremely successful and they just couldn't relate to us. So they were either in a mentorship, in a mentor sort of position, or they were even below, not below, but a few steps behind us where they were only just considering business, but they were still employees. So it was really difficult to find kind of like that right spot where you have someone that is already in business, or maybe they're starting out, but they're as equally motivated as you are. But they're also don't want to, they're not sort of super stuck up and they don't want to only talk about business all the time, that they're happy to just have that personal relationship. And over time, from going to the chapter meetings, because we meet every single week, you talk to the same people again and again and again, and you start to form those relationships. And then it really helps that there's different categories in the chapter. So it's not just a whole room full of other web developers, but you have your removalist, you have your cleaner, you have all of these different people, so that if anything breaks in your house, immediately you know who to pick up the phone and call and go for advice, right? Which is crazy, but that's what you get. But also you can hang out with these people and you can talk to them outside of business and just talk to them about life and have a coffee with them and catch up. And that is has been absolutely invaluable for me, who I didn't have any sort of community here. I didn't have any friends. All my family are back in the UK or in Colombia, and I had absolutely nobody here apart from my partner's family, which was great, but it didn't feel like my family. And this is sort of like what I've said to my partner many times. When I came to Australia, I stopped being Andrea and I became like Nick's girlfriend or Nick's fiance. But when I joined BNI could just be me. I was just Andrea. Again, it felt like I got my identity back and I got a whole group of people that I could come to for advice and that I could just hang out with and just share a few laughs. And that to me has been invaluable.
You've given me goosebumps. I mean, and literal goosebumps. That is such a fantastic story, and it's one that I know thousands of people have. Thousands of people have experienced that. And the neat thing is, what you are able to take from it now, you are able to then give to the next people. So that's pretty incredible. I would like to ask you a question, and I don't want to mislead you in any way. Is there a difference in the way that people relate to you depending on their age? Do you notice a generational difference in the way that people network or in the way that people successfully network? Or is there a common thread?
I think at the end, we're all just looking for human connection. So I think when you find that human connection, one of the beautiful things about BNI is that it doesn't really matter how old you are because you can connect with people at a human level. But what I have found is that, especially within my generation, we've sort of become overly reliant on the online first. more than the face to face.
Mhm.
And even just outside of networking, just trying to make friends as an adult, it's so hard because everything's online now. So I was joining lots of sort of Facebook groups and online communities, and I was always trying to, do the online meetups and have, transition that into WhatsApp and keep the relationship going over text. Maybe we'll meet up once or so, but it was really difficult. And I feel like in my generation now relies on connection through the online space first. And that is, social media or local groups or online communities. And it can be really isolating because even though on paper it looks like you have all of these thousands of connections and I don't know how many friends, but the reality is, and I've lived this, is that you still don't have anybody because you're not really building that authentic connection that is built from face to face, repeated face to face interactions. And I think that's why I've really enjoyed BNI because you're forced to see these people face to face every single week. So you're forced to talk to each other in person. And through that, you get to understand people's energy better. You get to read their body language better. You get to see whether you vibe or not. And you build on that. And I think in my generation, a lot of it is just almost entirely on social media. And there's a loneliness that nobody really talks about, or maybe they are, but a loneliness that because on paper you look like you have all these connections, but when it comes to who can you pick up the phone and call because something broke in your house or you just need some advice, that is not, it's not quite the same. So those connections stay more as superficial. um, so I don't think I've noticed any difference in how people treat me because I'm younger versus how they would treat an older person. But I mean, I don't know because I am the age that I am and I don't have any other experience. So I don't know. But I do feel like when it comes to making connections and networking, um, my generation is very focused on the online, and it is, and I think that's part of what made it really difficult to have any genuine connections when I first arrived to Australia about 18 months ago.
Your insights are amazing, and I really am so grateful that I invited you to share your story here on the Imperfect Podcast. I would love to know this. What are your plans for the future? What are your goals over the next let's say first of all the rest of this year, so that's another 6 months, and then maybe for the next couple of years, what do you want to do with your business, and how do you see networking being part of that, knowing that networking and word of mouth have gotten you to where you are?
I definitely want to keep expanding my visibility within BNI and just connecting with more people in the region here but beyond. And I think I will probably stay a BNI member for a long time just because of all of the benefits that it's giving me both personally and professionally. So I definitely see myself staying and here. And whether it's that we stay in Sydney or we move somewhere else, it doesn't actually matter because BNI is so global.
Yeah.
And recently we were in the UK and we visited a couple of chapters there, and the energy is the same. It's just fantastic. And so I know I definitely want to stay part of BNI. For the next 6 months, I want to keep growing my presence within our region. And I want to keep building genuinely good relationships with people. And I want them to understand the value that we offer within our business because there's so many questionable agencies out there that do questionable results for
Yeah.
people, and we're not like that because we come from a place of genuinely wanted to help people. And I think I just want to get my message across that everything that we do is with the intentions to genuinely help people have the work-life balance they deserve, and that's something that we want to achieve for ourselves as well. And I think in the next few years we're hoping to grow this into a lifestyle business that we can feed around a family because we're still young, so no kids yet, but we definitely want to expand that into a business that will allow us to have the flexibility and freedom to be there with our kids when they need us, and provide us with the flexibility but also the peace of mind knowing that that's there. And I think regardless of what happens, I definitely see me staying in BNI for a long time.
My thesis about this right now, and I'm exploring it, and I'm glad that you're here with me, and we'll start to wrap things up because I know we've talked for a while, but I just want to share my thesis is exactly what you said, that I don't think it matters how old we are or even what our upbringing was. The human connection is ever important.
Mm.
It's the human connection that we need. And the research says that you will live longer if you are still part of a community. I think we inherently need connectivity. And so the in-person, and as you said, the forced BNI experience becomes a habit and becomes something that you can feed on. The visitor flow, the growth and the contraction of a chapter, the breadth of it
Mm.
really does work well. And as you also said earlier, you said that those are skills that then you can now use away from a BNI environment. In another networking environment, you can actually evolve that and get value instead of wasting your time, not wasting your time. So
Yes.
I do love that.
And I have experienced that a little bit already. Every time I've gone to an event outside of BNI, it it's so much easier now to talk to people because now I'm looking at it through a different lens. Now I'm focused on building a relationship first, and I'm not as scared anymore. And that confidence is just come purely within from BNI. So
Love it. I'm going to ask one last question.
yeah,
It's about the fact that you went to a national conference
yeah,
recently, and it was a BNI conference, but it was called Accelerate Business.
yeah.
The whole point, I was one of the conveners of is that a word? Well, it's the Imperfect Podcast, so we'll make it up. Conveners, that was it,
Yeah.
of the event. So our purpose was to help the attendees to be able to accelerate their business, to grow it. It wasn't necessarily to sell BNI. We already had BNI in the room. So
Yeah.
it was instead to help you. So now that I've already answered it for you, I'd love to find out what you benefited from. Just in a, I don't need a lot. Just, I'd love to find out what your thoughts are after attending it.
Yeah, I thought it was a fantastic conference. I've been told it was the best yet, so
I've
I'm really
heard
glad
that.
that I went. Um, I loved all of the networking that would happen in between the scenes, and getting to connect with business owners all around Australia was really valuable. And I love the talks as well about how you can, you know, grow your business either through telling a story. So one of the speakers, Monique Bradley, she shared about, selling through storytelling. That was just very impactful. How you don't have to be salesy or pushy. You can just sell by telling stories. And so that's partly what I want to do within the next 6 months is I want to tell my story, because that's how I want people to understand I'm here to help you. Don't go to somebody who's just interested in your money. I'm genuinely interested in helping you. So that was one of the key takeaways from me. And also Phil Berg, who is absolutely a legend within BNI, but he said, get in front of the people who are in front of your customers first. And I had never really thought about it in that way. And so in web development, there's sometimes customers that would be in front of branding agencies or marketing agencies first. And so to me, that advice was invaluable. And from there, I've gone and I've started scheduling one-to-ones with these branding agencies and marketing agencies, because that's a strategic way that I can grow my business as well. And so yeah, I'm gonna keep it short. So these are the major insights that I got. But overall, it was 100% worth attending, and it was just so much value, whether you were in BNI or not. It was just invaluable, as I said.
I love it. I love it. Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to Andrea Hernandez, and I just want to remind you of a quote that she used earlier, which is "Life is one big adventure." And as another person who's moved to a completely new country who doesn't know how to answer the same question that you don't know how to answer. Where am I from?
Yes.
I just want to say it's been wonderful to get to know you more. And when we're talking about generations, I don't think it matters in networking. It's about human connection. And I'm really glad to have met you.
Likewise. Completely.
Thanks everybody for listening. The music that you're about to hear was written by my very good friend Ben Little, and I happen to have been playing the guitar on the recording. So I hope you enjoy it. Have some fun, and I'll see you next time on the Imperfect Podcast.